Hi guys, my name is Kenny Brown and welcome to my first inZOI build. Now, fun fact is, when it comes to buildings, I'm really not good at building buildings. However, I wanted to create something for the community, so I decided to create a restaurant. Now, I initially started this restaurant in the building creative studio on the demo, and as I was creating it, I actually didn't end up saving my progress, so I really had to start all over. But this is pretty much the layout of my building for this restaurant. Now, I love Chinese food, so I decided to build a Chinese food restaurant for not only myself to use inside of my own inZOI story, but also for the community as well. Now, when it comes to buildings, like I said, I'm not really too familiar on how to build houses and things of that nature, as this is my first build, so please feel free to give me some advice and not critique it as much. So as you first walk in, as you can see, I'm making a nice little waiting room, and this back room that I'm currently doing is for the kitchen. Now, I really wanted the kitchen to be spacious as possible, so I decided to go ahead and move the walls around a little bit and try to position the doors so that way it could be centered. Now, the kitchen, I wanted it to obviously have enough room and for it to be as big as possible, so that way the cooks and everybody and all of the things that I wanted as far as the appliances and things of that nature were able to go ahead and have space, honestly. I wanted the dining room and the walk-in area to be lit. So I wanted to add in these open paneled windows because I thought they were cute. And I wanted to go ahead and make sure that they were parallel with one another from the ground. And I also wanted to add one of these windows right here, so that way when you walk in, you can actually see the cooks preparing your food. I really put in a lot of debt into this restaurant. This color on the outside, I wanted it to be black so that way it would reflect the heat from coming inside of the building, and I honestly just like the color black. For the floor, I wanted to go ahead and match it as well. This took me a little bit of time to figure out actually how to do this. However, once I figured it out, it was fine. Also, the turning mechanics inside of this, I have a struggle and a problem with learning how to rotate from left to right. So if you guys also have that issue, please let me know. I just want to know if it's just a me thing or if I don't know what I'm doing correctly. So any tips, tricks, or anything of that nature would be so beneficial. Here, I am creating a bathroom. This bathroom that I'm going to create is a multi-used bathroom. Any man, they, them, him, her can use it. So I did put labels on the bathrooms. However, they are gender fluid and gender neutral, so anybody and any person can go ahead and use these restrooms. I went ahead and centered the doors onto these frames, and I wanted to go ahead and give it a brown rustic wood feeling to it, so that way when you walk into it, it has a good, beautiful aura to the bathroom. Now I went ahead and put in the toilets here, and I wanted to make sure that the toilets were on the same length. I went ahead and put in a urinal for the men's restroom, and I went ahead and added this beautiful sink here. I also wanted to go ahead and give you guys a nice little mirror, and I wanted to make sure that the mirror itself was perpendicular with the other mirror on the other side of the wall, so that way it was good to go. I also added in the toilet paper rolls here, and obviously I had to put one on the other side as well. Now I wanted to freshen up the bathroom a little bit, so I went ahead and added these little air dryers that you have in the bathrooms, and that one I really got lucky with as far as where the placement goes. And I wanted to add a nice little shelf or little soaps and stuff, so that way you guys could, you know, have the ambiance of walking in here, it being fresh with the flower, and then you also using the soap dispenser to wash your hands. So I went ahead and added some bathroom signs, and I also wanted to add a emergency exit location just in case we needed to go. I decided to go ahead and decorate the interior walls so that way they weren't too white, and I went ahead and turned all of the doors black, including the frames. Now, I went ahead and made sure that the waiting area right there also had a nice little wooden oak texture style towards it as well. I realized that the wood on the outside wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be, so I went ahead and made sure that it was the correct pattern. And I was actually trying to figure out whether or not I wanted it to be black or brown, but I wanted it to be black. And also right here is when I found out that my building was actually off, so I had to extend it just a little bit so that way it would be even all the way around. Okay, so here I also wanted the windows to be in the middle so that way they would be even. I went ahead and made sure that they were in the right location and that they were parallel with one another. I made sure that all of the walls on the outside were black and that they were good to go. Went ahead and painted the floor black as well, so that way it would just match the ambiance. I decided to make the kitchen a little different from the rest of the restaurant as well. I decided to make it white. And the reason why I wanted to make it white, so that way everything could pop. I went ahead and made the ceiling this texture as well, so that way it just gives off a good, warm, cozy vibe when you walk inside of the restaurant. Okay, here I wanted to add some welcome benches inside of my restaurant. I wanted a little seating area so that way when you walked in, you would be able to have a seat where you are and have a placement to sit down and to be able just to relax. I added a little flower pot just to brighten it up a little bit. This is also a little creative custom feature for the 3D. I wanted to make a welcome desk. Now I wanted to make an area so that when you walk in, you'll have a hostess standing there, and that's the vibes I was coming from. I also wanted to add in that little welcome chart or welcome light there to make sure that people knew that they were welcomed when they wanted to come inside of the store. Now, this is where I was having a little bit of the rotating problem, but I went ahead and made sure that the flower wasn't sticking outside of the wall. To add a roof here as well because my initial building was missing something and I wanted it to stand out. It was definitely missing an additional perk of some sort, so I decided to add a roof, and I also made the top of the roof black as well as this beautiful ridge here. This is something that I personally was struggling with. I was trying to figure out how can I make an area to where it's sitting on grass because I did not want it just to be out here. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was struggling very hard trying to figure out what these tiles and these floor things were called because I just didn't. I knew the idea of what I was looking for. I just couldn't figure out what the word was in English, and I speak English. It's my first language, and I just could not find the word for ground tiles, floor tiles. And inevitably, I was able to find some tiles and turn this area into something beautiful. Now, it took me a little while, so we're gonna go ahead and skip over it a little bit. Actually, we're not. I want you guys to see my frustrations and my trials and tribulations. So I went ahead and moved the house back a little bit just so that way it could fit inside of that diagram, because honestly, that diagram helped me out a lot as far as the placement goes. Now, remember, I said I was struggling. And one big thing that I do wish is that I was able to have a type of Photoshop editor, and we'll get back to what I mean by that. Now, I realized that interior, it was dark, so I needed to add in some lights, and I wanted these lights not only to be even within the store but also outside of the store as well, but we're gonna get to that shortly. Now, once again, I was having problems with the rotating, going left to right. I don't know why in the build studio it's very difficult for me to figure out how to just turn it swiftly without the wide cut, you know, because every time you turn left to right, it's wider. I wish I could have like a shoulder view inside of the building studio, so that way it would be just in the area that I'm focusing on. But once again, if it's something that's wrong with me and I don't know what I'm doing, please let me know in the comments below, because if it's something that I can improve on, and if it's a me issue, a user issue, a me problem, like a skill issue, please let me know. So here I wanted to make sure that the lights were even and that they were on relatively the same length in the same area. I wanted to make sure that that I didn't have too much lighting, too little lighting, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're back again with the outsides. I was really struggling with this because I didn't know exactly what I wanted. Now, this is the part where I was talking about Photoshop. I wish we had a option to where we could have the positioning. So if we wanted something underneath a different layer, we could. When it came to layers and layering the bottom of the ground and the grass, this became so difficult. But luckily enough for me, I was able to do it, even though I had to really kind of kink it out. As you guys can see, like, I found the area and the little sweet spot to where it wouldn't go inside of my build, but you know, it is what it is. I wish I would have been able to just slide it all the way through so that way it could have been a perfect square. I was able to figure it out, and I honestly didn't know what to do with the back. So the back, I'm not gonna hold you, the back is a little ghetto. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. When y'all see this, y'all can go ahead and figure this out. Maybe you guys can update it with your own features as far as the tiling and things of that nature goes, but the back was ghetto. So inevitably I just ended up giving up, and instead of harping up on it, I just decided to move on. I went ahead and I added the menus that I needed for the restaurant into the store, and honestly, these menus that they give you are actually really awesome. There's different varieties and different options that you guys can choose, so definitely check that out. I also wanted to add in a bar to this Chinese restaurant, so that way if anybody wanted to sip some sake or some alcoholic beverages and things of that nature, people were able to have that option. Now, I wanted it to be a little bougie, so you know, I added a nice little marble sleek bar desk looking thing. I also wanted to add in these beautiful bar stools. Now here I used some images that I found online of a ramen menu, so I wanted to go ahead and use the portrait frames that they provided to us in inZOI to go ahead and create that and to make it happen. I wanted to make sure the menu looked very unique, so I went ahead and made sure that the imports that I found online were able to fit inside of these squares, and I went ahead and positioned them as such. On the left hand side, I didn't initially want to do the exact same thing, but I wanted it to have the same type of flavor. So I went ahead and I added some items to the left hand side as well. Now, I changed up some of the images just because I thought it would flow a little bit better. And in my opinion, I believe that it did. On top of the menus that I placed inside of the store, I also wanted self-serving kiosk because I wanted it to give the vibe like you walk in, the host is there to greet you, ask you how many is in your party. But if you don't feel like waiting and you just want to get food to go, you can go ahead and go to the kiosk and you can place your order. I went ahead and placed a mannequin here just for the aspect of having a hostess. And then I decided to go ahead and work on the dining room slash eating area. Now, when it came to the vibes and everything of this nature, I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted. All I know is that I wanted it to be spacious and I wanted it to be a location where I can fit a lot of people and for people to be able to go ahead and be here shortly. Now, I will say this, if for restaurants purposes and things of that nature, inZOI, please add booths. I was looking for booths and I couldn't find booths, and then I was like, all right, if I can't find them, if I can't 3D make them, let me go ahead and try to put a sofa in here. but having a sofa inside of a restaurant, it didn't look right. And so I said, you know what? If I can't have it, let me try to create one. So I went ahead and tried to place some chairs down in an L-shape formation. And I just said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and make some booths. But then I remembered, hey, if the furniture is in an area to where a Zoe can't go, then it's not going to be able to be used. So I had to kind of recalculate exactly what I was looking for. And honestly, I think that what I ended up with was really unique, and I like the placement of everything. I made sure that a lot of people had space, so that way if you come with a party, you can go. And honestly, even if you don't come with a party, you can sit at a table length away, so that way you can be by yourself or eat with another Zoe and become friends. I really enjoy the aspect in the living area that I created. Now, on top of that, I also wanted it to mist with the atmosphere, so I went ahead and made it black tabletops with the brown outlines as well. And I went ahead and I went the hosting desk. I made her hosting desk black as well, as far as the chairs. We're back outside, and I wanted outside to have more color, more pop. So I decided to go to the templates to see what they had. And honestly, I was initially going to go with that water fountain, but I was like, listen, we have this beautiful location to where I'm able to have outdoor seating. Oh, this is a must. So I went ahead and just undid everything that I did beforehand, and I made sure that I had outdoor seating outside of this Chinese food restaurant, because it brings a classier vibe to the restaurant, and I wanted it to be a little bit of everywhere. So I wanted to make sure I had a seating portion in the front. Initially, I did want it on the side as well. However, it didn't work out the way I wanted to. Once again, I wanted to add in more tiles for grass, so that way it would look a little bit better. Once again, wishing that I had the positioning function here. And I went ahead and added a nice little welcome sign at the front of the store, and I thought it was very cute. And then went ahead and I added a no parking sign on the side of the building. Now, initially I put this window here so I could see it, but then I remembered, oh, Kenny, you have a kitchen. That window's probably not going to be there when you go in the kitchen. Once again, failing at the rotating tab, wishing that I was able to rotate a little bit better. And I also was wishing that I was able to get the 3D printed stuff that I imported inside of the game to actually sit on top of cabinets or on top of tables or on top of different other things. And honestly, it just didn't work out as of right now. So please, if that is something that we are able to do, and for things to go ahead and use in the future, that would be awesome. Now it was time. Now, before I decorated the kitchen for the bar top, I wanted to add some lovely wine glasses and 2 more mannequins, so that way they could act as the bar host. For the kitchen, I went ahead and added a beautiful cabinet little wall on the back wall. And then I added in some burners, and on the opposite wall, I added in some low cabinets with some high cabinets, as well as some over the head fans. I added in a trash can, and then this is when my creativity started to flow. So I added in some cooking ware to the other side of the kitchen, and then I also went ahead and split it up a little bit so that way it would be even for what I was looking for. I added in some low cabinets as well, just to create the ambiance, and I went ahead and changed the color to black as well. I did it for the other side, and I made the top cabinets black as well as the lower cabinets black as well, just to fit the beautiful ambiance of this kitchen. I also added in a wine fridge, as you can see there, as well as 2 refrigerators. I also added in a sink, and I thought I was trying to add in a dishwasher, but honestly, they could just clean their dishes in the sink. I wanted to go ahead and put the sink on the far edge of the countertop and not right next to the stoves. I went ahead and then I decided to go ahead and get a counter so that way you could walk in and see your food right there on the countertop. So that way, if you're waiting for the food, for the chef to put it somewhere, all of the things would be right there in the middle. So that way you wouldn't have to go and worry about stuff. I also added in some plates and a nice little cabinet carrier stand looking thing, whatever you guys want to call this. I put this stand here and I wanted to add in some plates as well, but I wanted the plates to be a different color, so I went ahead and I made them whites, and then I went ahead and started putting some pots and pans and things of that nature all over the kitchen, so that way it would actually give it a kitchen vibe. I went ahead and made the middle row black as well. I put some chopsticks there, and then I realized, oh, I have to put chopsticks on all of the tables and the bar so that way you have cooking utensils. So I went ahead and I did that. I also added some bottles of wine to the bar with wine glasses as well. I went ahead and added some kitchen utensils here so that way they would have some things to work with, and I put some pots and pans on the countertop. I went ahead and put a spice rack on the wall as well, so that way they would have some spices, because you need spices in a restaurant, baby, right? I went ahead and added in these rice cookers as well, and I think that they were a great addition. I decided to add in a little bit more pots and stuff to the side just to give it a little bit more of a kitchen-esque vibe. And then I decided to place the mannequins. Once again, these mannequins are going to be effectively being the people in the restaurant, running the restaurant. Now, one thing I don't know, and I don't think it will work, but I don't think when I upload it to Canva, I don't know if the mannequins are actually going to be there, because I actually made these mannequins my Zois. So, well, not my Zois, but I added some presets of people who I think would look good working at a restaurant. So I went ahead and I was like, all right, let me go ahead and edit some of these appearances so that way I can go ahead and have some people working here and put on some work clothes on them, and so that way they could look all fancy and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I put 3 people in the kitchen, so one of them is going to act as a chef, the other one is going to act as a waiter. Well, the other 2 are actually acting as waiter. One is grabbing something from the refrigerator, and the other one is actually waiting on their order. So I went ahead and I was looking for a specific inZOI to put as my chef, and I found him. So this was my chef, and I went ahead and was just using my imagination. So this white jacket that I have here, I decided to use that as my quote-unquote chef's coat. So I went ahead and put that on him, and then I go ahead and went ahead and shifted this appearance of this story right here to make sure that it was this beautiful one, and then I left the other one as the regular preset that you get. So as soon as I was done with that, I wanted to make sure that all of the beautifulness of this restaurant was good to go. I made sure all of the final touches were good with all of the appearances, because what I actually ended up doing was I went to every single inZOI and I made sure that they were moving, so that way when I took some pictures of the stills and stuff of that nature, they wouldn't just be standing there awkwardly. I wanted them to smile, I wanted them to move, I wanted them to flow, and I just wanted it to look great. So that way when I actually saved it and I uploaded it, and it was actually my first initial restaurant, uploading it to Canva, that it would look absolutely phenomenal. Now, once again, I don't believe that the Zois are actually going to be included when you download this version from the Canva area, from the Canvas area. However, you get the idea when you walk in. So if they are there, awesome. But if they are not there, then it is what it is. Okay, so another thing that I was really upset about, especially with the build mode, I wish we had a free cam for build mode, because the photo mode that we have, it's very wonky when you're trying to just show people off your building. So this is the best way I found that I could do it, but there was a lot of restrictions with the movement. So I really wish we had a better free cam when it came to build mode, as if you were actually walking through these buildings. So I do apologize, that's a little stuttery, but yes, this is the finale of my building. I really worked hard on this. So if you guys like it, please let me know in the comments below. If there's anything else that you want to see in the future, please let me know as well. Once again, this is my first build, and I'm going to be trying harder to, work on my craft, to work on building things. But I really enjoyed working on this. My name is Kenny Brown on Canvas. So if you want to download this restaurant and any of my ZOIs that I've created for the beautiful show that I am creating, that would be phenomenal. But if not, totally understandable. But once again, thank you for watching my Chinese restaurant, and I hope you guys will download it, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching.